So here some clue is given about AWS Certified SysOps exam labs. So as if you give the AWS Solution Architect Associate exam, then there is no labs question. But when you are going to give take certification of SysOps Associate, then you have to face 3 exam labs question of AWS. So each exam lab consists of several different tasks, and AWS recommends to allocate 20 minutes for each exam lab. And first you will need to answer the multiple choice or multiple response type question, and you cannot go back once you have completed this section. So always note this point. Okay, please make sure you can also prepare your notes during this course. Okay, otherwise I will give a PDF file in my description box so that you can read it. Second, you will need to answer the exam labs. You must complete all the work on the exam lab before you move to next one. You would not be able to go back to a lab once you have completed it. So next, this is a AWS Certified SysOps exam sample lab. So this is a sample lab exam question. So here some case study is given and also some requirement is given. You have to fulfill that requirement, and you have to provide the feedback as per question. Okay, so let's move further. So how to prepare for the lab? So I think you all know what is the answer. Yes, practice is the only key to practice for labs. So you can follow along with me and practice in this course. Okay, so let's start with EC2 for SysOps perspective. So as you know, EC2 is stand for Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay, and this is a infrastructure as a service. Okay, so first question is here, EC2 changing instance type. How we can change the EC2 instance type? Like if we are using currently T2 micro, then how we can move to T2 small or any other instance type. So this only work for EBS backed instance. So always note that point. This only work for EBS backed instance, not work for the any other like instance stored instances. Okay, so first we have to stop the instance, then we have to go into instance setting, and then now we can click on change instance type. Now we can start the instance. So let's move on to our lab. So first of all, you have to log in into your AWS account. If you are not created, then you have to simply here sign up for the console. After providing your all debit card information and your personal information, you can simply create this account. Now we have to log in into your AWS account. So here, once you log in into your account, you have to search for EC2, or you can directly get a link for EC2, but I recommend you can search it. So here, now you have to click on launch instance first of all. Now select, and T2 micro is only available in free tier, so you can use it for free. And now click on launch, and here you can either create a new key pair or you can choose an existing key pair. So I am just choosing existing key pair. Let's create a new key pair. Okay, so here give this key pair AWS SysOps Lab. Okay, now click on download key pair and click on launch instance. Now click on view instances. So here, this is my EC2 instance. now we have to SSH into this. For making a SSH connection, we have 2 to 3 options. Either we can directly connect by using SSH client, or we can also use PuTTY tool. If you are using Windows, then Windows 7, then PuTTY, Windows 7 or 10, PuTTY is the best option. But also in Windows 10, SSH client comes with pre-configured. So now I am connecting with my EC2 instance, but there is no need for connecting right now because we want to just change our instance type. Okay, so there is no need for connecting from our EC2 instance. So I am just skipping these steps. Okay, so now just we have to go into once our EC2 instance is in running state, then we have to go into instance state, and now we have to stop instance. First step is this for changing the size. Okay, so here our instance state is stopping. So now go to action, now go to instance setting. Here we can see change instance type option is not enabled because here our EC2 instance state is just stopping, not in stopped state. So always remember, we can only change instance type when our instance state is stopped. So here now our instance state is in stopped, and here our change instance type option is enabled. Okay, so click on change instance type. Now here we can choose any of the one instance type which we want. Like if I want T2 Nano, then here we can choose T2 Nano and we can click on apply. So here, like if you want to increase from T2 micro to T2 small, then here we can simply choose T2 small. Okay, like here we can choose T2 small and we can click on apply. After applying these steps, so here now we can click on just start the instance. Okay, so for that we can start our instance by choosing here. Okay, first choose here and now go to instance state and now click on start instance. So after clicking on start instance, now let's say here instance type is T2 small. So right now I am deleting this. That's it for this lab. Now move to next section. Now let's talk about enhanced networking. So EC2 enhanced networking like SRIOV has higher bandwidth, higher packet per second and lower latency. For this we have two options for using this SRIOV. Either we can use elastic network adapter and we can also use Intel 82599 VF. It's gave only 10 Gbps because it is a legacy type. But when we are using elastic network adapter, it gave up to 100 GB per second. Okay, and for elastic fabric adapter, we can just say it is an improved form of elastic network adapter and used for high performance computing, especially for high performance computing, and only work for Linux. Why Linux? Because high performance computing only support the Linux instances. Okay, so great for internode communication, tightly coupled workload and leverage message passing interfaces is standard, and it bypasses the underlying operating system to provide low latency reliable transport. Okay, so let's move further. And let's talk about placement groups. Sometimes you want to control over the EC2 instance placement strategy. That strategy can be defined using placement groups. When you create a placement group, you specify one of the following strategies for the group. And always remember, we cannot able to use placement groups when you are using the free tier. So in lab section I just show what are these and how we can choose these cluster spread partition placement groups. Okay, so let's talk about clusters. So cluster instances has when you have requirement of low latency and single availability zone instances, then we can choose cluster type of placement group. And what is spread? And basically spread instances across underlying hardware, and maximum instance per group per availability zone is supported, like 7. So maximum 7 instance per group per availability zone is supported for spread type. And this is used when we have to use critical applications. Okay, when we use partition type of placement group, so spread instances across many different partitions which rely on different set of rack within an availability zone. So it can scale to hundreds of EC2 instances per group. Like it can be used for Hadoop, Cassandra, Kafka, and many more. Okay. So let's move further and try to understand by using this placement group by a diagram. So here, when we are talking about the cluster, then all our EC2 instances are in same rack and also in same availability zone. Okay. So here we get high network speed. Okay, so here all these two instances have the minimum latency, or we can say low latency, and it can support 10 Gbps of network. Okay, bandwidth. So what are the pros of this type of placement group, cluster placement groups? So they have great network connectivity. So 10 Gbps bandwidth between instances with enhanced networking enabled recommended for this type of placement group. Okay, and only cons is that if the rack fails, all the instance fails at the same time because they share the same rack and also same availability zone. Okay, so suppose if our only one rack is failed, then all of our EC2 instance goes down. Okay, so use cases may include big data job that needs to complete fast, and application that needs extremely low latency and high network throughput. Let's talk about placement groups spread. So what is spread? Here we can easily say when we are using spread types of placement group, then we can use the multi-AG feature. Okay, so here we can say our EC2 instances are on different hardware in availability zone, and also we can deploy our EC2 instances within different availability zones. Like this is in US East 1A, and this is in US East 1B, US East 1C, and but in the same region. Okay, these all are in same region, but they support multi-AG, and also they are running on multiple different hardwares. Okay, so pros. What are the pros of spread type of placement groups? So pros is it can spread across availability zone. As I say, these can support multi-AG feature. Okay, and reduced risk to simultaneous failure, because if one is failed, then we all know our two availability zone is working, and these EC2 instances are up and running. So this is a great advantage of spread type of placement groups. Okay, EC2 instances are on different physical hardware. Also, if our this hardware one is failed, then it does not affect our hardware to EC2 instance. So these are the just benefit of spread type, but only cons is it is limited to 7 instance per availability zone per placement group. So this is just one cons of this, and also it increases the cost, of course, because if we are using multiple EC2 and multiple hardware and multiple availability zone, so then it increases overall cost. Okay, use cases may include application that needs to maximize high availability. and critical application where each instance must be isolated from failure from each other. Okay, so let's talk about placement groups partition. Okay, so up to 7 partition per availability zone. We can make 7 partition in one availability zone. Okay, and it can span across multiple availability zone in the same region, and up to 100 it support up to hundreds of EC2 instances. Okay, and the instance in a partition do not share racks with the instances in other partition. Okay, so always remember this point. These points are important as per exam perspective also. So EC2 instance get access to the partition information as metadata, and use cases may include SDFS, SBase, Cassandra, Kafka, and many more. Okay, so let's talk about the shutdown behavior. Okay, when I gave exam, then there is a question also from shutdown behavior, so I am trying to write in here. Okay, so let's talk about shutdown behavior. So how should the instance react when shutdown is done using the operating system, when our shutdown behavior is enabled? Okay, so either our instance is go into stop, either our instance is go to terminated. So default is stopped. Okay, so this is just a tricky question because shutdown behavior is not applicable when we use operating system to shut down our EC2 instances. Like when we give command from our operating system to shut down, then it is not applicable shutdown behavior. Okay, shutdown behavior is only applicable for shutdown or termination command given by the AWS console. Okay, so here I also written a key point. This is not applicable when shutting down from AWS console. This note is basically written by mistake. So this is only applicable when shutting down from AWS console. Okay, so let's edit here. This is only applicable when shutting down from AWS console CLI. AWS console. Okay, so here CLI attribute for shutdown behavior is instance initiated shutdown behavior. Okay, so let's go into our AWS console and try to understand it clearly. Okay, so open the Chrome and here type AWS console. Okay, just sign in to your console and let's try to play with this feature. Okay, go to on your EC2 instance. Okay, let's launch a new instance. Click on select and next click on review and launch. Click on launch. Now select your key pair. So here AWS SysOps Labs. Okay, click on launch instance. Now let's try to understand that option. Now go into your view instances. Now select this. Okay, now go into the action section and go into instance setting And now here we have the change termination protection option. Now let's enable this and click on save. After saving, let's try to terminate this instance from AWS console. Okay, so here select this, and now my instance state is running. Let's try to terminate this. Go into instance state and now click on terminate instance. Oh, see here, failed to terminate an instance. The instance may not be terminated. Modify or disable API termination instance attribute and try again. So here a error is popped up and we are unable to terminate this instance, but this feature only work with AWS console. Okay, it does not work when we give a shutdown command from our operating system. Okay, so let's try to understand this. So let's try to understand one more instance setting. Okay, go into action section and now go into instance setting and change shutdown behavior, and by default shutdown behavior is stop. Okay, as I also here mentioned here. Okay, now let's change it to terminate and click on apply. Now SSH into your EC2 instance. Give just a command. Okay, let's copy the IPv4 address. So let's copy the public IPv4 address from here. Okay, now paste it here. Okay, now we are connected from our EC2 instance. Let's issue a command sudo shutdown now. Okay, let's try to see what this command do. So here let's click on refresh. Okay, now we can easily see our instance is shutting down, and as we set shutdown behavior to terminated. So let's see what is going to happen here. So here this is our instance basically, which is got terminated. Okay, so here we can conclude that if you enable termination protection, then it's only protect against accidental termination in with AWS console or command line interface. Okay, so these are the 2 points. It termination protection if we enable termination protection, but if we give command from our operating system to shut down now, and if shutdown behavior is set to terminate, then our EC2 instance is going to terminate it. This termination protection does not affect of OS commands. Okay, so always remember this point. So I am giving some example. So we have an instance where shutdown behavior is equal to terminate and enable terminate protection is ticked, and we shut down the instance from the operating system. Then what will happen? As we also discussing it in our lab, so I think you all know what is the right answer. The instance will still be terminated. Okay, so let's move further. So let's talk about EC2 launch troubleshootings. So first error which may be we can face instance limit exceeded. So if we get this error, then what we have to do? So if you get this error, it means that you have reached your limit of maximum number of virtual CPUs allowed per region, and on-demand limits are set on a per region basis. Okay, so this is different in every region. Let's take example. If you run on demand like any instance type A, C, D, H, I, M, R, T, Z, any, and you have 64 virtual CPU by default, okay, then resolution is that either launch the instance in different region or request AWS to increase your limit of the region to avoid this instance limit exceeded error. And always remember, virtual CPU based limits only apply to running on demand instances and spot instances. Okay, it does not apply on another types like to reserve instances. Okay, so let's move further and let's try to understand the second error which we can face is insufficient instance capacity. So if you get this error, it means AWS does not have that enough on-demand capacity in the particular availability zone where the instance is launched. Okay, so what is the resolution for this error? So resolution is that wait for a few minutes before requesting again, and if you requesting more than one request, break down the request. Like if you need 5 instances, so rather than a single request of 5, request one by one. Okay, so if there is urgent if urgent, then submit a request for different instance type, and now after submitting this request we can resize it later. Okay, like if T2 micro instance type is unavailable and giving insufficient instance capacity error, then we can launch with T2 nano or T2 small. Okay, we can also request the EC2 instance in different availability zone, because these errors are as I already mentioned, this is availability zone based error. So if we choose different availability zone, then definitely this error is going to resolve. Okay, so let's try to move further and try to understand a different error. So this error name is instance terminate. This is not a name, this is general action which we can face. Like if we are launching our instance and our instance terminated immediately, goes from pending to terminated. Okay, so what we can do to resolve these types of situation or action, we can say. So we basically this is happened because of like you have reached your EBS volume limit and EBS in a snapshot is corrupted and the root EBS volume is encrypted and you do not have permission to access the KMS key for decryption. And also a reason is the instance is stored by DMI that you used to launch the instance is missing required part. Okay, so to find the exact region, you have to check out the EC2 console of AWS instances and description that we tab. Note the region next to the state transition region label. Okay, let's talk about EC2 SSH troubleshooting. So for that, we have to make sure the private key .pam file on your Linux machine has 400 permission, else you will get unprotected private key file errors. Okay, but at this time after getting the latest update, if we did not have 400 permissions, then we are also able to connect from EC2 instance, so we are not going to see any unprotected private key file error. Either we can set 7 permission or 4 or anyone. Okay, so now this time it is not mandatory to only you have to give 400 permission. If you did not have 400 permission, then it's all good, we are going to connect. It only require the appropriate .py file, okay, and username of operating system and also corresponding IP address. So, and second one, maybe make sure the username of the operating system is given correctly when logging by SSH. Else you will get either host key not found, permission denied, or connection closed by instance port 22 error. Okay, so and possible reasons for connection time out to EC2 instance by SSH maybe include security group is not configured correctly, and network access control list is not configured correctly, and also you can check out the root table for the subnets and instances IP public IPv4 address, and also the CPU load of the instance. Sometimes when CPU load of the instance is high, then we can also face the connection timed out error. Okay, so let's try to troubleshoot this problem. Okay, as I already mentioned here, at this time when AWS gave the latest update, then it does not have any requirement of 400 permission. So let's try to understand by using the lab. Okay, so here this is my EC2 instance which is already running. Let's now copy the public IPv4 address, and let's here as close this window. Okay, let's open a new window. Okay, now let's try to SSH into our machine. Let's first change the permission of our .py file to like chmod 777 and AWS SysOps lab.py. So this is my .py file. Let's I try to change the permission of my key file. Okay, enter. Okay, now I have 777 permission. This permission is too open, but it still we are able to connect with our EC2 instance by using this permission. But if we talk about 2 to 6 months ago, then we are not able to connect with this permission. Okay, so let's try to give SSH command. So SSH -i AWS SysOps lab. So here AWS SysOps lab.py EC2 user, and okay, EC2 user @ my public IPv4 address. Let's enter and try to connect. Okay, here we are now connected. So let's we have to now we want to explore another error, which is just a user name, OS username error. Okay, so let's when we gave the wrong OS username, then what we will face. Let's try to understand. So exit, enter. Now here we modify our operating system username. So here I gave EC2 user1. Let's try to understand what problem we can face when we did not give the correct operating system username. So here it says permission denied. Okay, so as I already mentioned here, if our operating system username is not correct, then here we can face either host key not found or permission denied or connection closed by instance port 22 error. So here one of them we face here permission denied error. Okay, so let's try to understand the another error which you can face while you are connecting using SSH. So here let's try to give a different IP address but all the correct information. So here our username is correct but we gave the wrong IPv4 address. So what we will going to face? So here, as my terminal already mentioned, this command is wrong because here it gave already a cut symbol with 255. Okay, so here it's taking time to respond. Okay, so after some time we can face error like connection timeout error. So this error may be arises due to this false IPv4 address or this wrong IPv4 address. So let's try to stop this. Okay, let's correct it. Now when we correct it, then we all know we directly got connected. Okay, so here let's try to understand some more EC2 errors and understand how we can easily troubleshoot them. So go into security section, go into your security groups. Okay, let's try to delete the SSH inbound role. Okay, here we have one inbound role. Okay, SSH. So we want deleted. So click on edit inbound rules. Now let's delete this rule and click on save rules. Okay, now let's click here. Okay, now our terminal is dead. Okay, so that I have to close it. Okay, let's now now let's I give the SSH command and see what will happen. Okay, now so as I deleted the SSH inbound rule, our SSH request is not able to communicate from our EC2 instance. So that here we after some time we also get connection timeout error. So here we all can see here my SSH command is not responding, but after some time it say the connection timeout error. So let's wait for the error. Okay, so here you can easily see SSH connect to host this port 22 connection timed out. Okay, as I already informed you about this SSH rule. Here click on edit inbound rules, click on add role. Okay, now here I want to SSH. Okay, so this is SSH. we can also give our IP address. Okay, like if you want to just connect from this EC2 instance, then you can just here search your IPv4 address, and you can just allow here only one IP address, okay, or range of IP addresses. But here I am just testing, so here I allow all the traffic from any SSH traffic from anywhere. So click on save rules, and now let's try to execute the same command. Okay, here I am using the same command. Okay, I think now my SSH inbound role is modified. Okay, okay, we are connected. So here in security group, and also sometimes network access control list are also maybe cause these types of error. So timed out error means just our SSH client request is not able to communicate with our EC2 SSH server. Okay, so let's move further and understand the other topics. Okay, so let's try to understand the difference between secure shell and EC2 instance connect. Okay, so what happens when we connect using SSH? So let's suppose this is our EC2 instance, and this is a security group which contains this inbound role. Okay, let's our user 1 have IPv4 address 1.2.3.4, and second user has IPv4 address of 5.6.7.8. Okay, as our inbound role of security group has only source allowed 1.2.3.4/32. It means only one source is allowed to connect over SSH. Okay, so when this user make a request by using .pam file, then our security group matches their inbound role and allow this inbound traffic to our EC2 instance. Okay, but when this user request to connect from EC2 instance over SSH, then our security group generally just blocked it because of this inbound role does not have this IP address as a source. Okay, so this is blocked. And let's try to understand EC2 instance connect. So here what will happen in EC2 instance connect. So here suppose a user is requested to connect from EC2 instance connect. So here let's suppose our user has IPv4 1.2.3.4, and he is signed into the EC2 console, and they are trying to connect by using EC2 instance connect API. So this push one time SSH public key to our EC2 instance, and by default all the AWS IP ranges is allowed into our security groups. Okay, so that this EC2 instance connect is able to communicate with our EC2 instance, but internally this also uses the SSH. Okay, so let's try to take a demo of this to, as we use many times SSH to connect from our EC2 instance. Let's try to use EC2 instance connect. So here we have to just go into action section. Now we just click on connect. Now there is 4 options is here present. So first one is EC2 instance connect. So we want to just explore this option for now. So here we can see here a instance ID is given, our public IP address and username is also available. So let's try to click on connect. Okay. Now here we are into our EC2 instance. Okay. So just now we have to click on it, and now we are able to connect from our EC2 instance over the what we don't know, but internally it uses the as such. Okay. So just for your information, EC2 instance connect also uses the SSH. So always remember this point. So click on exit. Okay. Now let's try to move further and understand the another topic. Let's try to understand EC2 instance launch types. Okay. First one is on-demand instance. So this is beneficial for short workload and for predictable pricing. Okay. Like when we have requirement to use any instance, like when we have to host a website of WordPress, then we just create and launch a new EC2 instance and we pay our bill. Okay. But let's talk about reserved instances. So reserved instances, we can only reserve any instance for minimum of 1 year, and reserved instances are good for long workload. And here we have 2 options in reserved instance also. We can also use either fully reserved instance, either we can use convertible reserved instances. And convertible reserved instances are good for long workloads with flexible instances. And scheduled reserved instances may be also reserved. And like example, we have a requirement of every Thursday between 3 and 6 p.m. Okay, so we can also schedule to our reserved instances or reserved instances. Okay, and another one is sparse instances. This instance launch type are good for short workload and they are very cheap, but we can lose these instances anytime, so they are very less reliable. Okay, so let's try to understand what is dedicated instance. So when we use dedicated instances, so no other customer will share our hardware basically, but our instances can share hardware. Any other customer will not share, but our instances can share the hardware, our hardware. Okay, but when we talk about the dedicated host, so here we book an entire physical server and we can even control instance placement. Okay, so here let's try to move further. Let's talk about some more about EC2 on-demand instances. So here we pay for what we use, okay? Like Linux or Windows, billing per second after the first minute, and for all other operating system we have to bill per hour. Okay, we have billing per hour. So it has the highest cost but no upfront payment. Okay, and also no long-term commitment is required, and it is only recommended for short-term and uninterrupted workload where you cannot predict how the application will behave. So always remember this point. Okay, so let's try to move further. Let's talk about EC2 reserved instances. So for EC2 reserved instances, we can get up to 72% of discount compared to on-demand instances. So reservation period is 1 year minimum for plus discount, and if you want to 3 times more discount, then we have to reserve for it for 3 years. And in this manner we can say we will get maximum discount for reserving an instance for 3 years. Okay, so here we have also 3 types of purchasing option. Option number 1 is no upfront, option number 2 is partial upfront, and option number 3 is all upfront. And we will get such a huge amount of discount when we give all upfront. Okay, when we choose all upfront. So here we can reserve a specific instance type, and it is recommended for steady state usage applications. Okay, like databases. Okay, we can also have convertible reserved instances. So we can change the EC2 instance type, and here we can also we can get up to 66% of discount, and we can also have scheduled reserved instances, and we can launch within time window for which we reserve it. So when you require a fraction of day or week or month, we can basically use this scheduled reserved instances, and here we can make a commitment for 1 year only. Okay, so let's try to understand about EC2 spot instances. So for spot instances, we can get a discount of up to 90% compared to on-demand instances. So it feels too good. We can get 90% of discount. But why AWS is giving 90% of discount? So let's try to understand it. So instance that you can lose at any point of time if your next price is less than the current spot price. Okay, that's why it's getting 90% off. So this is most cost efficient instance in AWS, but due to this reason I think you don't like this type of instances, because instances that you can lose at any point of time, why you want to buy it? But some tasks it can also beneficial for some tasks, like it is useful for workload that are resilient to failure. Okay, like batch jobs, data analysis, image processing. Okay, it is not so great for critical Java or databases. Okay, we can use it in combo manner with reserved instances for baseline plus on demand and spot for peaks. Okay, let's try to understand deeply EC2 dedicated host. So this is physical dedicated EC2 server for your use, and there is full control of EC2 instance placement and visibility into the underlying socket and physical cores of the hardware, and it is allocated for your account for a 3-year period reservation, and it is more expensive. So this is useful for software that have complicated licensing model, like bring your own license model, or of companies that have strong regulatory or compliance need. So let's talk about EC2 dedicated instance. So instance running on hardware that is dedicated to you. No one can share it, even you. Okay? So it can, sorry for that, confusing you. So here you may share hardware with other instances in same account. Okay, so I basically purposefully do this because of you have to understand the difference between EC2 dedicated host and dedicated instances. Okay, so here you have no control over instance placement. Okay, but when we talk about the EC2 dedicated host, then here in EC2 dedicated host we have control over our instance placement, but in EC2 dedicated instance we did not have control over EC2 instance placement. So let's make a quick comparison between those. So when let's talk about characteristics dedicated instance and of dedicated host. So here we can enable the use of dedicated physical servers, yes, in both. Per instance billing subject to a $2 per region fee, yes, per dedicated instance is each applied. Okay, so per host billing, yes, for dedicated host. Visibility of socket, core host ID, yes, is available in dedicated host. And affinity between a host and instance, yes. So you can also see it. But automatic instance placement is done in both. Okay. But here in dedicated host, you can control the instance placement. Okay. So let's try to understand which host is good for me. So which host is right for me? How we can simply answer this question? So let's try to understand with a simple example. We have a resort. Okay. So when we are going to use on demand, so staying in a resort whenever we like, and we pay the full price of that resort. Okay. And what is resort? So we like planning ahead, and if we plan to stay for a long time, we may get a good discount. Like if we want to live for 1 year or 2 year or 3 year in that resort, then we can get a good discount. Okay, what is spot instances? So like the hotel allows people to bid for the empty rooms, and the highest bidder keeps the room. You can get kicked out at any time when any bidder gave the more price of that room. Okay. And what is dedicated host? Basically, we book an entire building of the resort, and here we decide in which room which person is placed. Okay. Here I did not take an example of dedicated instances, but when we talk about dedicated instances, then we can simply say we book an entire building of the resort, but here the resort owner or resort manager is going to decide which a person reside in which room. Okay, but it is not case with dedicated host. In dedicated host, the only host owner is going to decide in which room which person going to reside. Okay, this is just a simple example.